and packed in its 30-year history. Jim Richards and Mark Scaife won the race despite their car being disabled. Dick Johnson believes he was the winner. Tony Longhurst supports him. And of course, there was the hostile reception afforded the winners after the race. All of this on a day when New Zealand's ex-Formula One champ Denny Hulme died after a massive heart attack. Yes, it certainly was a Bathurst race that few will ever forget.
It was a 5-day carnival charged with emotion, colour and controversy as the fans turned out in record numbers for the 1992 edition Tooheys 1000. Saturday's top 10 pole shuffle generated immense interest. Both the Holden racing team Commodores made the show. So too Miss Godzilla and her sister. The GIO GTR was there. Tony Longhurst high-revving B&H BMW. And the new generation Peter Jackson EB Falcon with Glenn Seaton at the wheel. Larry Perkins, after being second fastest the previous day, kept the momentum going on Saturday. But the real performer was Dick Johnson, who scorched into the 12s with the Shell Sierra. This could be the leader of the pack shortly, as Johnson comes down to the final corner at the end of Subaru Straight. The checkered flag is out and Johnson takes the Shell Sierra across the line.
Very smooth, very precise.
2:12.89, there's no fox like an old fox, Dick.
Well, the greyer the hairs, I think the faster we go.
Sunday dawned overcast and cool for the big one. Ricey, though, was the morning's first big winner, taking out the pit stop competition and $10,000.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
And as the starting command is given, those V8s and Nissans and BMWs explode into life here on the starting grid at Mount Panorama. Engines come up to rev, so they get off the line. Seaton makes and muffs the start, and it's Johnson up on the inside of Perkins with Mark Scaife looking for it, but he'll drop back one spot. 05 is stalled on the starting grid, Peter Brock. And Brock sitting there as the rest of the field goes through the first turn and works their way now up Mountain Straight. Dick Johnson away to a brilliant start.
On outright speed, Dick Johnson's Sierra is the only car that can take the battle up to the Nissans at this stage. This first hour is going to be an absorbing contest. See if Johnson wants to try and break the back. Well, Mark Scaife ducks down the inside and he will lead the great race as they come across the line for the third time.
And so they ran with the Winfield Nissan holding a comfortable pace over Dick Johnson, while Win Percy started his charge through the field. Absolutely flat, and look at his approach shot here, down on the inside. Moment of truth now for Klaus Needsvitz, and through he goes.
Third place, Holden moves into the top three.
The Glenn Seaton Peter Jackson Falcon ran with the leaders too, while Mark Gibbs had to go to extraordinary lengths to clean the windscreens O'Brien. When the rains came, the four-wheel drive advantages of the GTRs were obvious. They took off to set up an impressive 1-2. The downpour was sudden and caught out a number of drivers. Visibility was down to 0, and in some cases, Braille was the only way to go. By early afternoon, it was back to dry. The number 1 Nissan continued to lead, but the Johnson Bow Shell Sierra was closing.
You can see the storm moving in, and I would say it's not too many minutes away now.
It came down in buckets, causing one anxious moment after another. Gentleman Jim had it parcelled up, but then it happened. He glanced the wall, and the GTR was down to 3-wheel drive.
Oh, no, Jimmy Richards has hit the wall.
I would expect we might see a red flag.
Well, now, if that happens, what they usually do is backdate the race by a lap or so, which could well see Jimmy Richards and Mark Scaife still taking victory.
This is the kind of send-off, and I don't want to...
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I don't want to be unkind to Winfield and the Nissan team, but the punters at the top of the hill, this is the kind of send-off they wanted to see for the Nissans.
Officials red flagged the race, taking the lap score count back 1. That gave victory to Richards and Scaife over Johnson and Bow Sierra. Olofsson and Crompton finished third, with the small car class resolved in favour of Jason and Scott Bargwana. The 93 5-litre category being claimed by Win Percy and Alan Grice in the HRT Commodore. Cheers, jeers and tears followed. It was a Tooheys classic few will forget. Well, until October 1993.
Yes, what a day it was on the mountain. I don't think we'll forget that one for a long, long time. I know the gentleman with me now certainly won't, Jim Richards. Jim, congratulations and well done. We were just looking at that tape and you had a smile on your face as you watched your car aquaplaning into 3 or 4 others, and you said, I wouldn't have been smiling now if I hadn't won it.
Exactly. No, it was a bit of a problem on top of the mountain when the rain actually came. We were due to go in the pits that lap, in actual fact. Our number 2 car had already come into the pits, and we were just stayed out that 1 lap too long, which in the conditions that were up there, if you're out on slick tyres, you physically couldn't drive the car in them.
I was just thinking of an adjective to describe how you would feel after that race and having won it. Would the word satisfied cover it pretty well? I mean, very satisfying to get back-to-back wins despite all the pressure. They threw the book at you and you accepted the challenge and said, righto, boys, you catch us.
That's virtually right, Sandy. We knew the car was going to be quick enough. The one thing we didn't know was how the brakes would be over the 160-odd laps. But after the practice during the week, we knew that everything was going to be fine. And in actual fact, we actually changed the pad once when we didn't really need to.
We sat in our lounge rooms and watched in awe as the drama unfolded there on the mountain. Just how bad was it, those conditions, from a driver's point of view? The worst you've ever experienced?
Yeah, yes and no. I've probably been in just as bad, but probably the worst conditions of the lot were earlier in the day, when the race was under the pace car for quite a few laps when Denny's accident. You couldn't actually see more than about 30 metres in front of you on the top of the mountain. The mist had come down and you really couldn't see the flag marshal, you couldn't see any cars in front of you, and it was very, very bad. But fortunately, most of that time was taken up with the pace car, so we weren't going at race speed.
Right.
At the end of the race, when we crashed, those conditions on slick tyres, you can't drive the car, and we were just unfortunate to be caught out there with the wrong tyres on.
Mark Scaife gave the team a great start. Did you ever at any stage throughout the day feel threatened?
No. No, we had a
nice to be able to feel like that, isn't it?
Oh, yes, it is, but I mean, it's all the work and, of course, the race the year before as a lead-up. The only thing we had this year that was different to last year was a lot more weight and a fair bit less power. But, of course, during the development through the year, we gained a little bit of that power back just through continual engine development. And on the lead-up to the race, we basically knew that we were going to be the quickest car out there. The only thing that we weren't sure of is qualifying, which Dick proved he was able to wind the boost up a bit on the Sierra and run a bit quicker in the qualifying. But on a race pace, our car was always going to be the one that was going to do the leading. I've
got to ask you about the presentation. You're known as Gentleman Jim and a very placid man. You weren't overly placid at the presentation. You're very, very upset.
Yes, I probably wasn't as upset as what it looked. We'd had a lot of booing during the year before, and we sort of copped it because we were more than happy to have won the race, and they could boo and jeer as much as they liked. But this time we knew we were going to get the same reception because the Holden and the Ford fans obviously sort of outnumber anyone else at that particular part of the day. So we were ready for it, but a race like that is a time when you can give your supporters like Winfield and Nissan a bit of a rap for doing such a great job.
Yeah.
And we weren't able to do that. We couldn't hear ourselves talk, let alone anything else. And I just felt that, and if I offended anyone other than the people that the words were aimed at, I'm very, very sorry. But we couldn't get our words across, and we couldn't thank the people we wanted to thank, and I just didn't think it was a fair go. So I sort of told them so. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have done it, but at the spur of the moment, it wasn't a thing that I'd thought up that I was going to do. It was a spur of the moment thing.
When did you actually know? I saw you come back in the pits and Mark gave you a hug, but when did you actually know you'd won the race?
I really didn't know, but I should have, if I was thinking straight at the time, I should have realised that when the red flag comes out, of course the placings are taken to the last completed lap by the whole field.
Right.
And of course we were naturally the winners. The TV guys knew that immediately. The red flag came out. But when you've got other things to think about, like making your way back to the pits and wondering what everyone's going to say and this and that, you don't think of that in the spur of the moment. And I suppose it was the same with Dick and Tony. They weren't thinking straight, because if you sit down and just analyse it for a second, you realise, yeah, that'd be the rules.
Yeah. Jim, it's the end of an era now. We look ahead to 1993. Have you any idea what you're going to be doing, what car you're going to be in?
No, I think Fred is looking at trying to run both classes. He's going to make an announcement when he comes back from Europe, but He hasn't decided what way
There
he's
has been a
going to
bit
go
of paper talk. Is that all it is, paper talk?
Yes, it is. Obviously, there's only two choices he's got in the 5 litre class, which is Holden or Ford.
Yeah.
I don't think he's finally decided yet. If he has, he hasn't said anything concrete to me. But then, of course, we can still run the 2 litre class, which, of course, almost certainly would be a Nissan. So we're not going away from Nissan completely. If we can run the 2 litre class, I'm sure Fred will run in that class as well.
Mark Scaife is now off racing Formula 3000. Where do you see his future heading?
Well, I think Mark's at a stage where he can sort of choose virtually where he would like to go and what he would like to do. But he's got a great position here in Australia, so it'd be silly to walk away from this to a lowly position overseas.
Right.
But if he can do both, that would be great for him, where he could do the Australian series as well as the international Formula 3000 series, and that's what he's doing at the moment, a bit of a toe in the water exercise. He's doing 2 meetings, one at Nogaro, then one at Magny Cours in a European team. And I think if he feels that he's done a good job with what he's had, I think he'd pursue it further. But I don't think he'd do it and completely divorce himself from Australia.
Jim, congratulations once again. We thank you for your time this morning, because I know you've just got off a plane from New Zealand from Denny's funeral.
That's right.
I'm sure you'd perhaps like to say a couple of words too about that man.
Yes, it was, well, he was obviously a great guy, a great friend of mine, and it was a very, very sad day, but Denny went out doing what he wanted to do, and it was a great service over there. Terrific eulogy from a couple of the people there, and it was good, but not a nice thing to go to.
No. Jim, congratulations once again, and good luck. We'll wait and see what the future holds for you in the next 12 months.
Thanks, Andy.
We'll take a break, but Brooke is going to be back after the break, and she's going canoeing. It looks as though the weather could at last be on the improve. Let's certainly hope so, and the action does get underway. Mike Raymond is down there at the moment. Welcome to Sports World, Mike.
Yes, thank you, Sandy Roberts. Good morning to you. Conditions here at Calder Park Raceway today, still overcast, but I think we might get the racing in. Practice yesterday for the NASCARs, affected by rain, but they'll, of course, be coming out shortly for their 5-lap dash. Allan Moffat, this is not the place you want to run in the rain, though, is it?
No, not at all. I can recall at Daytona when the Seagull goes over, they put out the yellow flags, Mike. But the fellows that are going to do well here today are the ones that have done their homework and have got their cars ready for the dry situation.
Well, we're going to have a look at the NASCAR 5-lap dash, bringing out all of the starters, and following that, the 5-lapper for the AUSCARs. And the NASCAR's on the circuit now for the 5-lap Sports World Sprint this morning. A reverse grid order, so the top point man, George Elliott, the national champion, starting off the back of the field, and the veteran Tasmanian, Denzel Mead, off pole position. 5 laps around Calder Park Thunderdome. They're coming in to take the green flag now, and they jump out of the line. Mead is going to be passed by about 4 or 5 of them. He's developed an oil leak or a problem with the car. There is smoke billowing out of that car as they come down into the bottom corner. Let's see whether he can make it to the low line of the racetrack. Yes, he does. Alan Grice in there as well, and Max Dumsley, both running the Valvoline cars, as they now move onto the back straight.
Neville Lance in car 14 leads him down the back straight for the first time. John Laws tucks in behind him. Not regular runners at the front of the pack. As Mike said, this is a reverse grid, so this is these guys' big chance to stardom. They come around for the second lap on this 5-lap screamer.
Well, no practice yesterday, Mark. These guys will be very nervous today. First time in the dry for over 24 hours. So preparation would have been paramount last night.
There's the DuPont Centauri race cam. We're riding with Walter Giles looking at the field.
Barry Blake, the West Australian, has pulled into the pit lane. Here comes Denzel Mead, closing in on John Laws.
Actually, Mead's recovered well, hasn't he, after that incident? He had smoke pouring out of the car coming in for the start. He's managed to pick the pace up a little bit. He's up in third. He's got Grice all over him. There the cars working the back straight. Laws in the 6 car. Mead, the veteran from Tasmania, up on the inside, and Alan Grice in the Valvoline 09 car.
So Mead on the Chevy Lumen. He taps the back of Laws. He's going right around, and Alan Grice.
Oh. No, he's caught it.
Yep. Well, that was a good save. It could have been a very nasty incident, particularly for Grice, who was right on his hammer.
I'll take the white flag, 1 to go. Order unchanged, just looking at third. That puts Walter Giles on the DuPont Centauri car, 91, up into third. Grice drops back 1. Ian Thomas in 23 moves up 1. They're working the last lap now, and Neville Lance of Western Australia comes along the back straight. He's opened it out to about 5 or 6 car lengths over John Laws. Then back to Walter Giles, probably 6 or 8 after that. And looks like that's the way they're going to finish. They've got the checkered flag at the ready. And Neville Lance is going to come up with his first NASCAR winner, Calder Park. He goes across the line, picks up the win. John Laws picks up the 2nd spot, and third is going to go to Walter Giles in the DuPont Centauri machine. Let's go down, I think, to AJ with a very excited Neville Lance.
And a big win for West Australian Neville Lance. It's his first run in a NASCAR, and obviously very happy, Neville.
Oh, extremely happy. Very nervous, but happy.
What's it like? You started off the front row. The adrenaline rush, I'd imagine, would be huge.
Extremely large. It's all a new game for me. I'm still nervous as hell, but I'm just glad to finish first in my first race, so I'm really excited.
Thank you, Andy Raymond. AUSCAR's out on the racetrack now for their 5-lap Sports World Sprint this morning. Mark Seaton in the EB Falcon, car number 23 on pole. Owen Davies alongside in car number 88. That's the VP Commodore. Reverse grid race, fast qualifier for the races later today. Brad Jones starting up towards the back of the field. This should be a crackerjack affair over 5 laps. They're coming off the 4th turn, coming in to take the green now. And already they're jumping the lanes to try and get down the inside. Mark Seaton wins the jump going down into the bottom corner. Owen Davies alongside, all into the right-hander. And Seaton looks pretty sharp at this stage of the race, actually opening a bit of a gap as they work off turn 2.
Yeah, good run from Mark Seaton. Brand new EB Falcon, didn't even get to qualify. So he's having a run at the front by virtue of the reverse grid start, but he's pulling about 50 metres on Owen Davies as they swing down to turn 3 for the first time. Rod Wilson and the Titan Commodore locks into 3rd.
Bruce Williams also up very smartly, working the outside in car number 9. Already up there looking for about 4th spot, working the high line on this racetrack. And keep in mind there's not much rubber on it, Alan. It's all been washed out day after day after day.
Well, we lose sight of that, a virgin track which is not very happy, and a lot of fellas are taking it easy here. They know they've only got 5 laps to go this morning.